Hi, welcome to my home. Strange for me to invite people in because I'm usually quite private about my writing space, but these are strange times, so come on up. Our house is on different levels. Before we go up to my study, I'm going to show you a place where I like to do some editing, so come on up. Okay. I like to do a lot of editing out there on our deck there, but coming through this room is also a really special place because this is where there's artwork from other illustrators like Sean Tan over here, but over here is on this wall over here there's some special artwork from Lighthouse Girl and In the Lamplight. So here we've got the cover image by Brian Simmons, and this is a page, one of my favourite pages, because I've got a photo of myself standing in that same place. Here are a couple of images from In the Lamplight. So we've also got lots of books there. There's books all over the place. So come on out and I'll show you where I do a lot of my editing. Come on out this way. So we're really lucky to have a beautiful view, which is a nice place for me to work. You can see over here we've got our teddies out for the, we're going on a bear hunt. I'm not sure how many people can see them from the road below, but there they are anyway. Looking down here, you can also see there's a page from Lighthouse Girl. Where is it? Let me get the right one. Okay, so looking down, here's the page. Whoops. So this page here was one of the images that really spoke to me when I was collecting old archival photographs. And looking down the hill near the entertainment centre there, if you come back one road and down in front of the Green Peace Park over to the right, you'll see there's some old buildings. So some of those buildings are the ones that are the other side from the photo. So this is where, although I do a lot of my writing in my study, which we'll go to in a moment, I spend a lot of my time editing here. So as you can see, this is what I'm working on at the moment. It's just called Scout as the working title. So I've got a draft, synopsis, sort of trying to work out the chapter order. It was, I've had to make big changes. It was, thank you to the Department of Culture and the Arts for some funding help. Due to the bushfires, I had to change a lot of it, so it's taken me a bit longer. But on most days, I'll go between my study and then come down here, sort of lay back, have my drafts on my lap, and do some editing. And it's in winter, this is a really warm space, and I love to write and edit here. But here's my actual study. It's up this way. Are we going? Yeah, okay, come on up. So before we go in here, I've got a lot of books here that are also really special to me. On the bottom shelves are author friends and illustrators' books, but I've lent a lot to other children who are housebound, so at the moment there's big gaps everywhere. The top shelves are really special because there's some old books like, this is a 1942, Blinky Bill Joins the Army, and it's got some amazing scenes that I used when I was doing my PhD, some anthropomorphic bull ants and things like that. Also, some of my old childhood favourites. My sister got Thumbelina, I got this one, which I love. But for the students at home, you're so lucky to have incredible places like Paperbird books. We've got a Paperback in Albany, but Paperbird books, and they also deliver books right to your door if you're living locally, which is incredible. When I was little, this is what we had to learn to read with, okay? John and Betty. So not anywhere near as exciting as what you guys get now. This is John, this is Betty. John can jump, Betty can jump, Betty can run, John can run. And then it goes on about their pets, but look, it's a doll and a pram, a truck and a drum, and guess who's going to get which? So yes, of course, Beta gets the doll, John gets the fun truck, and so on. So when I was little, yeah, I had things like that I learnt to read with. So lots of old, there's some really fabulous old, like there's a really special, goodness, where's Colin Teely? One of my all-time favourite books, Storm Boy, first edition. So really, and it's signed by him, so that's like a total incredible treasure. So another space before we get into my study that I use a lot is behind. It's over here. So in here, when I write my books, I do lots of drafts. Not all authors do, but I tend to do lots and lots of drafts, and I don't keep them all, but anything to do with the book I keep in a tub. So like here's my dog tub, there's In the Lamplight tub, Scout's still little. And so I've got tubs all around the place, under beds, and with different drafts. So this is a good overflow. And before I cleaned up for this event, it was like really chockers. So good that I've got to do some cleaning. Let's go into my study now. All right, so coming in, there's lots of books. There's different books that I've used for research over here. Other ones, filing cabinets with ideas in them. And again, a bookshelf over here that I used. There's the canoe up the top there, which I love. And over here, the granny grommets, here they are on the wall. And these are some of the books that I used as part of those are all copies of mine, some books that I used for my anthropomorphism. This Jinky one I really love. It's old Aline Mitchell one. So yeah, there's all sorts of different books. The books I used to research The Dog with 7 Names, that's all down here, a lot of dog stuff. And yeah, World War II things, and so it goes. Okay. All right. Okay. Go back to me. I'm not going to interfere with the cameraman anymore. So I'm just leaving it to him. Books and back to all right. So I think I'd said we are live. Yeah, we're good. What I was asking is, what do you think is in Lieutenant Moore's suitcase? So here it is. Suitcase I found in a second-hand shop over at a place called Yak and Dander. I want to sit down this. And so when I saw this, like Lieutenant H.P. Moore, 3rd Light Horse Brigade, so I was really excited about this, of course. And it wasn't cheap, but I bought it anyway. So there are some great things in here. What it actually came with, I'll put that aside for a minute. What it actually came with is these leggings, but more importantly to me, it came with these beautiful old World War I horse leggings. So I was like really excited if I, smell that and touch it and see how the soldier has patched it to try and. So if you're kids, if you're at home and if you've got some old objects, some family objects around the place, then that's a really good thing to write about. The other thing that you could think about using to write are things like this, like old photographs. Can be historic ones or from your own family. That's how things started for me. And again, using the talismans. All right, so what else is in here? There's lots of good stuff. Here are the first sketches that Brian did for Faye. Okay, so there she is with her dad. Really early sketches. Here are some of the photographs. This is how the story started when I heard about Faye, the lighthouse keeper's daughter, signalling to the soldiers. And then they sent back these beautiful old postcards. So I wanted to go and get some of my own. So those are some of the postcards. Oh, there's lovely Faye herself. All right, another postcard. I need to put those away carefully. Now here's another treasure. Like this is an original, the semaphore map, like how you do it. So instructions. Okay, things like that. But this is probably one of the most treasures of all. So this is actually a light horse manual. So when I wrote Lighthouse Girl first, but then when I researched about the horses and the animals, that really inspired Light Horse Boy. So being given this light horse manual was really, really interesting as far as, you know, working out what they did. And there's an awful lot of, and see, it's been when the rules changed, they did that. So a lot of this is about how you parade, which is kind of nice, but how you quick march, how you form a squad, and look, there's handwriting about if you need to change it. So really, I think probably once they were in battle, I guess these things were important. But, you know, things like this, what amazing handwriting. This really brings history to life for me. All right, so that's that treasure. Here's another light horse object.
What is it?
Not sure actually.
It's an ammunition holder.
Okay, if Norm Jorgensen's watching, he will know. Do you know?
I thought it might be ammunition.
Yeah, I think it might be ammunition. It's kind of haven't really used that one
I'm
much.
all out of talk.
Okay, so more horse leggings. There's some old tins, flags that were used in the launch by Joy and Mike Lefroy. Thank you, Joy and Mike Lefroy. You might remember that. There are some of these old for the play, when it was linked to the Giants, the Ed supplement, all of those things. But I thought I'd also show how books start for me. So if we're looking at In the Lamplight, that started when basically I'd gone to Harefield with the cameraman and wanted to research another soldier. But when I got there, I found that there'd been an old Australian World War I hospital in Harefield Village. And it was just amazing. And then I found out that one of the Wallabies mascots had ended up there. So that's how that all started. But I needed to find out more about Harefield. And so I managed to source these books online and read about it. These are more to read about Harefield. There's still the little Australian hospital that was donated by an Australian family. The manor house then has turned into a massive hospital, so it's this huge hospital now. All right, so then after the research, then I usually start a file, something like this, with anything to do with my ideas, and this all goes into something like this. I might be starting to think about the shape of it. So with your stories, when you're thinking about stories, I find once I've got my idea for the beginning and the end, I like to have a little bit of an idea about the shape. Otherwise, I tend to go off track a bit. That happens. Lots and lots and lots and lots of drafts, as you can see from the tubs that I've got. So then once it's starting to get closer, I go and print it, go down to Officeworks or somewhere like that, and it's not very expensive to get it bound up like this, and it makes it kind of feel like it really is becoming a story. Still lots of editing going on, and it's not all finished, clearly, but any images I might want to use, I keep in here, okay? I do a few of those, and then eventually, here it is, it's starting to look like a real book. Now I'm working with Fremantle Press, and the designer and publisher, editor, we're all working together to try and of course Brian, the illustrator, to try and squash all of the things that I want to put in this story. So we do this a few times. So there's editing. I have to get rid of some images and photos, and then it goes on until eventually it's done. Now, another thing I wanted to show you, another treasure, this is such a treasure, for me anyway. Alright, so in here, I have to be careful. Alright, so some of you might know what that is. I think I've got it marked here on a page. It's a leafy sea dragon. So when I went out to Breaksea Island to research this book, I went with a fellow who was re-roofing the roofs, and his children were out there later, and they found this skeleton on the jetty of Breaksea. And so I thought I wanted to include it somehow. And so you can see how on November the 21st in the story, Faye does some sketching, and she uses this. So So those are some of the World War One things, but time's getting away, so I guess we better keep going. While I'm here, Nana's button tin. This one started when I was remembering my Nana, and when I was a little girl, I'll do it over here, so it's in the way. What I used to do is I'd go to her house and I'd take the buttons and, hang on, what I would do is I'd tip them like all over the floor and start to make them into patterns and things. Those of you who've read Nana's button tin might also know that, I'm coming back, don't worry, stay there, that there's a scene in here. Basically, they're looking for a really special button, and it's to do with someone really precious to the girl. And there's some sewing involved. I don't want to give it away. But again, if you're at home in isolation, a really nice thing to write about is one of your special toys or something that's special to you. So this is Eeyore. Eeyore was my special friend since I was really, really little. I was a Winnie the Pooh kid. And I went to my Nana's house one Christmas, and she thought he was a dachshund actually, and made him as a doorstop dachshund. But to me, he's always been Eeyore. And so I just cuddled him, and he was my special friend when I was younger, and still is. He's always here in my study. And when I was little, I used to ride him around the house. So I used to hold his ears, and we'd gallop around. And because I galloped around so much, sometimes his ears would fall off. And so my mum wanted to sew them on, but because I thought that would hurt him, she said, it's all right, I'll give him an injection so he doesn't feel the pain. So, but I thought, well, an injection would hurt as well. But luckily Eeyore loves sugar, which probably isn't great, but in those days it was okay. So I would put his nose in the sugar bowl, and then she would give him an injection so he wouldn't feel the pain, and then she would sew him on. He's actually had a whole new skin. He used to be a grey, black and white kind of a guy. But in the 70s, my mum gave him a whole new skin. So for some of you kids at home, you guys at home, if you're wondering what you can do, like writing a story about someone special to you, even though he's very well disguised in the book, but that feeling of having someone special, that's what I drew on. So there we go. What else? Now I really wanted to talk to you about sharks. So let's I was really thrilled this year to win the Speech Pathology Award, but also the Nance Donkin Award for the Society of Women Writers. In very good company there. So, and speaking of sharks, if we go up to the top, there's a PNG canoe, and look what's peeking out the top there. There's a shark. So the idea for the shark caller started, I really like that canoe, my sister and her husband worked in Papua New Guinea for a long time, and so we spent one Christmas, I guess, over in the New England province of PNG, scuba diving, and I was really impressed by just so beautiful. But I also heard about this ancient practice of shark calling, and so although my book only links to it, it was those memories of diving on the reef and just hearing about the shark calling practice, which you can Google. On my website, there's lots of links to all these things. Anyway, so because I love talismans so much, I wanted to bring my story to life. So I was keeping an eye out for things that were sharky. So I learned early on in my research that sharks have skin like we do. Even though they're a fish, and fish normally have scales, the sharks have skin. This is from a whiskery shark, and this is from a bronze whaler. And again, as I said, having things that I can touch that are tactile, that really brings stories to life for me. So if you listen carefully, I think it's got enough. So if I go that way, it's like patting Eeyore or a dachshund, right? If you go that way, it's like, used to be used for sandpaper back in the day before there was sandpaper. So shark skin, that helped weave certain scenes into my shark calling book from the Mako's perspective. Also, thank you Kylie Houth, in case you're out there, I was given a shark egg by a student once at a school, and it's becoming so old and prickly So the gorgeous Kylie Howarth recently gave me a more fresh one. So things like that really fascinate me. Now, still on the shark thing, this is probably the most precious thing. My sister gave me this one when Shark Caller was launched. Obsidian is an important part of the book, so obsidian comes into the book. And this is not only obsidian, which is a volcanic rock, but it's also a shark. So, of course, this needs to stay near me. Now, in the shark caller, there's also an anglerfish. So you might be guessing the anglerfish on the wall when I was writing the story. This story took me the longest of any of the books. It took me 10 years to write the shark caller because it was really hard to get the inspiration right. A lovely friend, Tracy, also gave me this beautiful felted anglerfish. So I guess probably the thing for me, talismans and surrounding myself with objects that link to the book are really, really special for me. So I've also normally, here's the shark caller tub down here. Normally this would be in the other room, but I thought it's, just move that back there. There you go. So this is one of my shark caller tubs, and there's many. So I like to keep sort of PNG objects. This, I don't really know why I love this so much. I just do. And I think there's a story somehow. I don't know what the story is, but I think one day there's a story. The eyes, the cowrie shell eyes in the shark caller, there's a link to cowrie shell eyes. So even though that's not in the book. And here we have quite a scary looking mask. And so I collect masks, and so masks are important for me as well. Here's a less scary one, a bit more. Now, for those, if you're a student and you're watching, then some of these things, the process is so slow. So often, I think most of the authors, it's a matter of just like finding your way through the story somehow, and you don't know the things that are part of your life sometimes creep in. When I was cleaning up a few years ago, I lived in Thailand for 2 years as a kid, when I was 10 to 12. And I found this scrapbook that I'd made, a bit like maybe it was a day, an afternoon when, not much happening. Anyway, so some of it's just, I don't know why, but some of it, turtle, don't need that. But what's really freaky is that in the shark caller, the conch shell is so incredibly important. When the shark caller catches a shark, they blow the conch. But look, octopus is a huge part of the story as well, okay? And then it just talks about, not an illustrator clearly, but again, here's some PNG necklaces, lots of shells. There's some photos of us. There's my daughter in PNG a long time ago. And that's the kind of canoe that they'd use. They're really hard to paddle. And again, like with the other ones, here's me just trying to work it out, just trying to look at what it would be like to dive through a scary cave, and how that would be. So I'm not a very logical person, so I need to draw things like that. So, and also again, sort of vaguely what's going to happen when, how's it all going to work. So, all right, we've just got a couple more minutes. So I thought maybe what we'll do is we'll go to the dog tub, and we'll finish with the dog with 7 names. So come on back. So we'll leave the study now. On the way out, you can see, again, some images of paintings of maps of Albany region and the departure of the fleet. Yeah, all right. So now let's just go back to the dog zone. Special people in my life. All right, so let's just finish. We'll go to the dog zone. Might just give, here we go. Try that. All right, so again, I guess when,
I was looking for the download button.
all right, so basically, again, I keep lots of folders and of things that are happening. The story started when I heard an anecdote about a West Australian flying doctor who made this amazing landing. in the Pilbara during World War II. I don't write about, I don't know why I write about war so much, but perhaps because it brings out the best and the worst in us. All right, so lots and lots of ideas, lots of drafts. Again, starting to, lots of time wasting research with looking at cute doggies. Royal Flying Doctor things, what the Pilbara was like in 1942, just all sorts of stuff. Anything that I know might be interesting, I keep in here. When it gets too big for that, then as I said, I start a tub, so I know that anything to do with a certain book is in the tub. Not always that organised. So then again, we're starting to do these, you know, these. Oh, that one's pretty good. So then we've got, this one's clearly less so. So now it's starting to look like how it will as a book. So obviously we're getting close to the end here. So that's that stage. Jumping back a step, here's the last, oops, the final before it gets to that. Still making some changes and things. And then the most exciting thing of all is when you get this. So it's really exciting when you get an uncorrected proof. So this might be going to bookshops so they can have a look. It's not the final one because there might be a few more changes to make. But then, of course, eventually we get the final one. So yeah. So anyway, thanks so much for having me part of this. Karen Blair and Kylie Howarth are going to be on next week. Oh, I was meant to talk about whether I like M&Ms. I actually don't, but I do love licorice bullets with chocolate on the outside. I love those. My favourite bird, I think pelican. I do love black cockatoos, and lately we've been watching the honey eaters, which is really lovely. I think there was another couple of questions I was meant to answer. Am I a night owl? I tend to read a lot at night, and then I don't wake up early enough to go for the early morning dog walk, but I like to get up early if I can. I prefer that. And I think there was one more question. Treehouse. Yes, I'm a treehouse person. Can't remember the other one. Anyway, make the most of your time in isolation. I think we'll look back on this, and although there's all the horrible things that are happening out there, I think we'll also look back and think it was a family time, and a time when we tried new things, and a time when, yeah, we made changes in our life. If nothing else, I cleaned up my study. Thank you so much. Thanks, Paperbird Books. You're amazing. That's very close. All right. Thank you. Oh, and Anzac Day tomorrow. We'll be at the end of our driveway. So there's other ways to honour those brave soldiers and nurses and animals. Thank you so much.